But the big picture is, again, and I'll close it this way.
I was going to say, close it with something that you know, like a mantra or something.
My thing is take care of your mind, body, and soul every day, and your body and mind and soul will take care of you. And the other thing is, in life, you've got to know when to lead, when to follow, and the hardest thing is knowing when to get out of the way. Sometimes we have to step back and let others do those things that we're not proficient at and enjoy them doing it. So those are my big takeaways on your close today.
Thanks,
brother.
Sick.
Good to see you, man.
I loved it. We had a great time today.
Oh, it was awesome. This flew, man. I can't believe we put this
wild?
much time in. Crazy. Just gabbing, just talking.
Just on stuff that's important to us.
Yep.
If you were talking about something that you hated, it would be miserable. But both of us love what we talked about, sports.
We're in hound heaven.
We're in hound heaven is right.
You want them out here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's leave it just
puppies
which is another thing we did.
Organic, man.
We were talking about the it calms you down so much, which is why I love dogs, because they don't judge me. But a gentleman explained to me is that when people who stutter are anxious all the time because you're always worried about talking the next time.
Focused on that.
Focused.
Yeah.
And when you focus on something every single day, 24 hours a day, it consumes me, which I was telling you that story, which I was a quarterback, for God's sakes. Who stutters and wants to become, I wanted to be Roger Staubach. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because your sports stories just enlightened me about a whole really amount of cool things that happened. And I just wanted to be a quarterback so bad, I just ignored the part of the stuttering. And in practice, I would struggle because I would think about it. But in the game, I never stuttered once in a game because I was so concentrated on what I had to do. And I'm like, I'm screwed.
Man, I wish you could have seen my Irish girls frying in the University of Southern Mississippi in August for preseason doing triples. They were dying. Those pasty kids, man, they got tore up.
They don't do that anymore.
We would do two sessions, and we would do film and team meetings at night. So they were, for a coach, long days, right? Because my staff and we would film a lot of the sessions, and we were breaking down film. I would sleep in my office a lot.
Because you'd have to not only teach it, but break it down. Breaking it down video. Yeah. Bob knows, I complain about it all the time, the editing.
Well, it's easier now in sports because when you film it, it's tied into a computer program, so now it does it all for you. You don't have to manually do it. You can pull up a player, and you can pull all their plays.
It recognizes his number and his name, and or do you have...
So in soccer, we have the teams hooked up to heart rate monitors and GPS. So we can measure everything. What's really cool is we can measure their fastest sprint, and then we can demand of them every game, hey, you got to get to your fastest sprint at least 3 or 4 times. In a game. We can measure, for example, my daughter, in their first game, she played 60 minutes. They played against weak opponents. They didn't need her for the whole 90, but in 60 minutes, she ran 5.2 miles. So we know that she did that. We know that she got close to her maximum exertion 4 times.
Wow.
Which was really, really cool. So those measurables, so now what it's done.
I knew that once when I passed out.
Yeah.
That's when I knew I was at my exhaustion period. I just passed out on the field with some brain damage.
Easier way to do it. Yeah.
And a concussion.
Yeah. So, but now the measurables are so interesting. And now, because we're seeing VO2, because we're seeing we know if a kid's a little, we can be more proactive. Hey, your heart rate's been a little elevated. Why don't you come sit for a little bit? So we can really be better on the health standpoint.
I keep saying that, but that's just amazing.
And take care of people, right? And I think the science has created some accountability in the computer programs where you can't hide. Kids can't hide because they get the data, comes onto their, it's sent to them, and they go into the team chat page, and the coach puts in there, and they got to pull it. They pull their own data and see the last game. They see what they did or didn't do. They can see their minutes, their passes, their successes, their failures, and how everything's measured. So the data, and unfortunately for me, that would have, as a player, I think that would have paralyzed me a little bit because I'm a data freak.
They know too much.
And I think maybe I may have been too analytical as a young person and maybe over obsessed with where I could improve in certain areas. But I think the kids right now have a pretty good balance about it. But it's neat. The science of sport has changed so much. For example, in college soccer, we recruit a lot of foreign players, a lot of international players, because they come from these academies and they already have agents by the time they're 15. So
now, can you go right from high school to pro soccer?
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
So no break time in the middle.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's
you can go right to it.
Like baseball, right? Baseball's the same way?
Yeah, baseball's the same way.
Now I got to ask before I forget. I want you to describe your most exciting game as you as a goaltender. Like
wow.
I was there.
Wow.
Like you remember. I mean, I go over these plays in my head.
I go over
and I'm like, well, what could I have done anything different? Or not even that. I mean the good shit. Like you just don't doubt. You're like, I just fucking performed.
I remember playing for Montgomery, and we're playing against Orlando City, and it was our home opener. And I remember the day before, I found some highlights of Peter Shilton, famous English keeper, and just him making, it was just the highlights of his great saves. So we're playing Orlando, we're an expansion team. Only, I would say less than half of us had been on professional contracts before, so we were really raw. Charlie Long was the coach, so I was actually a player assistant coach on that team at 30 years of age,
really?
Which was really cool.
So you said you were, so you were teaching these kids at 30-something, and you felt like you're the mentor, but you're only 30-something years old.
I was still a young player. Yeah,
so you broke the mold, almost like all the new coaches. They're all young.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hiring quicker, younger, because these guys are such students of the game, which is obviously were.
Yeah.
There's not many. There's not a ton of people like you.
No, I was still in the game. My daughter's very much the same way, very in tune with it. Real coach's kid. But I remember they had a guy named Lynn Steenkamp from South Africa. Great forward, great striker, handsome kid, big body, real strong. I remember he had a shot early, and I went down to my left, got stretched, and my defender, I gave it up. I was just fully stretched. It was a snapshot. He hit it hard, hit the piss off. I went down left, snapped down, got it, full stretch, and kept it right here. And I remember scrambling to get that ball. I got that one. And we're just getting hammered, right? We're under pressure. And I remember that a ball comes into the box. The ball is crossed. It's coming from my right, and the guy heads it from 8 yards out, and it's just under the bar. And this is the first time I heard a crowd in a long time, because usually I was able to focus that out. But the new, place was packed, playing in a stadium in Prattville, Alabama, and I went full stretch. My hand was right underneath the bar. It was 8 feet, and I'm parallel, and my hand is right underneath the bar. I just flicked that over, and I just remember feeling so good.
Didn't you practice that earlier?
Yeah,
remember that guy you were talking about the right? Yeah, shit. I remember you saying you were trying to.
Yeah, it was rehearsed. I went with one hand tipped over, and I just remember that I'm coming down this landing, thinking to myself, that was freaking cool. I remember,
just like you planned it.
Yeah, like you had 2 seconds to land, you're going, yeah, that was just that thing. And you got to roll in the land, and got up, and I caught the corner kick. And then we counter them one time, we get a goal, we're up 1-0. I'm like, holy crap, we might actually get our first win in our first game. This would be really unusual, because this is a hell of a team. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, the other team, they're panicking, because they're not used to being down. They're the defending champions, right? And Orlando's throwing everything at us, kitchen sink. And the one time our coach just pushes up we had a throw, and he pushes everybody up. He's getting greedy. He wants to get one more instead of hold the lead. And Steenkamp gets a breakaway from about 40 yards out. And I remember that the greatest thing about it was just the rush. I was playing a little high, and he took a long touch. I came out of my box 30 yards, had a slide tackle, put the ball 30 yards downfield, put him ass over head, which was a really good feeling.
Is it? I don't know much.
Couldn't use my hands, so it wasn't a place where I could use my hands. So I had to play as a field player.
Because once you go outside your box,
you're a field player.
You're a field player.
You're a field player. So I beat him to the ball and crushed that thing, and
Damn.
I lifted my team up, and I looked at the bench, and I think the outdoor game was just really, really pure and neat. And I think that was special because it was the first season, first game, new team, and being one of only 6 or 7 guys who'd ever been on a contract before. Playing virtually which meant we had 12 rookies on the team. Holy crap, because half our starting team was rookies, and just being that glue. And I think that was,
when you're a rookie in soccer, you're young as hell.
You're young, yeah, 19, 20 years old, 21 years old, 22 years old, 19 through 22. All those rookies are really young. So to have that gelling moment, a defining moment, that we can win a few games kind of things, I think that was really, really important. It was really cool.
Do many soccer, collegiate soccer players go off to being pro, or is it?
We're seeing more and more. More and more, we're doing a better job.
Why is that,
developing
though?
players.
Why do you have somebody who do they just not want to go to college? They go right to professional?
Sometimes they're identified and they're on a national team, or they're playing for a team. They're just so stinking good, but they have the physical maturity, right? And what we have in soccer is called reserve teams. We have an under 23 team and an under 18 team, so we can actually stock them, give them a pro contract, and stock them on that reserve team for a little bit. and give them some first team minutes and get them in the bench and then bring them in slowly. We don't have to do hey, you're saying you got to go right away. So we can, professionally, we can develop players.
Like baseball.
Yeah.
You put them on
be a little bit more organic that way and really help their development and give them some real mentorship. I think that's a really neat thing about the sport, too. You love the guy. He's my roommate, too. I mean, believe it or not, competing for a position, we were roommates and great friends and honest with each other. And he gave me the honor of, I got to read him into the Hall of Fame. Golly, 7 years ago.
That's really cool.
That was really neat. I got to read him into the Hall of Fame.
You read him into the Hall of Fame. That's something.
Isn't that neat?
That's
really
You're
cool.
talking the Hall of Fame of history of
sport.
Yeah. I mean, only the people who played that sport and so many years.
And then he asked me to do that. That was really it's really cool, man. That was really, really cool. So we.
So that's when you know you're doing the right thing. When you have people who want you to be part of their dream and
their accomplishments and I think when people want you to celebrate with them and they have that heart for you, I think that's really neat. Right in the small of that.
That's the Italian thing.
Man, it's a kukla. I'm going to hit you with this Matthias one more time. You can't catch me. Oh, down, man. You don't see stars. You actually see God.
It's real tight, and he tied it in a bow. And he put his new socks on. He came out of the room and he had the shirt tied up and he had the new socks on. I was like, Bob, what happened?
Bob needed Daisy Dukes at that point. That would have been iconic.
I think it's for us who have a lot of stuff going on in our heads, ideas in a good way. I think if you don't manage the way you should, it'll eat you up, which is what I think.
So mentally, that is great.
I wish I would have had some of your lessons that would, because I didn't know. Nobody knew. Nobody was diagnosing everybody with everything. They just wanted to help you.
Yeah.
Like my parents, my brothers, they just wanted to help me. They didn't know.
And I think organic is so for me to get into music and just have that focus come down, because that's the problem, right? We're spinning plates. I have this. I was preoccupied with 5 or 6 different things, but to bring it down to one and put life in boxes instead of circles, really, and just I'm going to do this box and this book and work on tasks lists. And I'm a person that is motivated by accomplishments. If I can go accomplish a small thing each year. So Atomic Habits is a great book.
A little bit.
Atomic Habits says if you want to run a marathon, what's the first thing you have to do? You put on your running shoes and you walk around them for a couple of days. You don't start running right away. So small steps make big improvements. So
I started listening to Goggins.
Oh, super! Yeah, Goggins is amazing.
I was in that point where my discipline was so shitty, where I just couldn't. And motivation just is a fleeting thing. I could get motivated 8 times a day. It doesn't mean I'm going to do anything.
Yeah.
But
I just got to put my head down and do it.
Break, and that's what I learned.
Just decide you're going to do it. Again, it's a decision. It's not a feeling. It's the thing. You never feel like you're ready. You got to be ready. You have to make a decision to be ready.
I'm not saying I want to be.
You don't have to.
No.
You pick out what you can embrace.
Exactly, and that's what people don't understand, because if they don't agree with one principle that the person has, they cancel the person.
Yeah.
Why can't you just take what you
can use?
What we learned in our 12-step program, which I think was the most amazing thing that I ever learned in my life, which is it was just so basic, is that you take what you can use, and you just discard the rest. You don't have to be pissed about it.
No,
not everything is based on.
Here's the thing,
and that's just
our bodies and minds can only handle so much stimuli. We can only absorb so much. Something's going to fall out anyway. We probably forgot 40 names that we should remember, but because we're cramming so much.
What was I this morning? I couldn't remember anybody's name.
Yeah.
I still can't remember the damn. I've been talking about this guy for 30 years. The drummer from Mellencamp.